The Science of Story. This is our Grow Month. We've spent the past month, our Root Month, aka History Roots Month, asking an important question. Where did story come from? We traveled through time, tracing myths, legends, kingdoms, and modern media. We learned that stories have always been with us. But now we step into a different kind of question. This month, we ask, why does story work? This is not just a writing class. This is a story literacy class. Because great stories are not accidents. They are not random. They are not invented out of thin air. They are built on patterns that God Himself embedded into creation itself. Humans didn't invent story structure. We just simply recognized it. Just as geography shaped where stories traveled, the natural world reveals how stories are shaped. This month, our lens is no longer maps and borders, it is creation. Seeds, seasons, cycles, and movement. Because story works the same way life does. Just like there is a science behind cooking, soccer, there's a science behind gravity and growth, there's also a science to how stories work. Not rules or formulas, patterns. Now this month, we're going to explore those patterns in the science of story. These repeatable rhythms that make stories feel alive, meaningful, and true. We're going to break stories down into their building blocks to understand how they work. Then, once we can see the pieces, we'll know how to put them back together. We know now that story comes from thousands and thousands of years of evolution. But this month, we'll understand exactly how it works still today. And in our final month, we'll create our own stories through the same ancient lens our ancestors saw through, and with the same enduring tools used by J.K. Rowling and C.S. Lewis and generations of great storytellers before us. We're in week 1 of month 2. This is story as a living cycle. Now, every story you've ever loved moves. Not in a straight line, but in a cycle. A beginning, a disruption, a change, a renewal. Why? Because life works this way. Let's look at the natural world together. A seed is planted, it grows, it changes, it dies, and something new begins again. Day becomes night. Night becomes day. Water falls. Water gathers. Water rises again. Seasons turn. Nothing stays still, and nothing stays broken forever. Stories follow this same rhythm, not because writers couldn't decide what to do or decided what they should do, but because we recognized the pattern and we connected with it. A story without change feels flat. A story without disruption feels false. A story without movement doesn't feel alive. Change is not the problem, change is the point. This is where you students should start to begin to see something important. Stories don't move because conflict is exciting. Stories move because life moves. And stories that refuse to move stop feeling true and connectable. The building blocks we begin to name this week begin with what humans have noticed across time. The normal world, the beginning, the moment before change. The disruption, something that breaks the cycle, a call, a loss, a question. We have the change. Movement begins and nothing can return to how it was. And finally, a renewal. Not just returning to the same place, but a return with understanding. This is the foundation of every story arc you've ever seen. But hear this clearly. These are not rules. They are descriptions. Humans did not impose meaning on stories. We uncovered it. The deeper thread this month is not about forcing faith into story. It's about recognizing design. God designed the world with rhythm. He designed our minds to recognize it. That's why our stories endure. That's why the patterns repeat, and that is why stories feel right when they align with creation. Story works because creation works this way. Where this is taking you by the end of this month is you won't be asking, how do I make a story good? You'll understand something deeper. Stories are good when they align with how life actually works. And once you understand that, you'll be ready. Of course, even those magical stories, they all root from some sort of pattern that we talk about here. Now, because now that you know where story came from, and now that you understand how story works, the final step is simple. You'll get to create. Welcome to the science of story. Let's get into the lesson. Week 1, story as a living cycle. We're going to start with something simple. Every story begins somewhere. There is a before the journey, before the problem, before anything changes. This is what we call the normal world. Not because it is perfect, but because it's familiar. It's the moment where life is moving as expected, where routines exist, where nothing has yet demanded transformation. And this matters because without a beginning, there's nothing to change. But stories don't stay there. They can't, because life doesn't. Something always interrupts the pattern. A loss, a discovery, a mistake, a calling, a question that can't be ignored. This moment is called disruption. And here's something important to understand. Disruption is not always the villain. Disruption is the signal that movement has begun. Sometimes with the helping hand of a villain, yes. Now let's look at the natural world again. A seed does not grow without breaking open. A season does not change without loss. Night does not arrive without ending the day. Disruption is not the end of life. It is the beginning of transformation. Once disruption happens, change becomes unavoidable. This is where stories truly begin to move. The character cannot go back to the way things were, even if they try. This is why stories feel flat when nothing changes, because our minds know that's not how reality works. Change is uncomfortable. Change is risky, but change is necessary. And stories that avoid it stop feeling true, and therefore we don't really feel a connection to it. Even if they can shoot rainbows out of their fingertips, we still expect some level of connectable patterns and relations to how we live our life here. In life, change reshapes us. In story, change reshapes the character. This is the heart of movement. But here's where people often misunderstand story. Stories do not end by returning to the beginning. They end with renewal. Renewal is not everything going back to normal. Renewal is understanding. It's the moment when the cycle completes and begins again, wiser than before, just like nature, just like life. Think about seasons. Spring does not erase winter. It grows because winter existed. The cycle doesn't delete what came before, it builds on it. That is what renewal is. And this is why stories across cultures, across centuries, across genres, follow the same rhythm. Beginning, disruption, change, renewal. Not because writers agreed on rules, but because this is how creation itself moves. Now, we name what humans noticed. What they didn't invent, but recognized. The story arc, the call to adventure. The moment when staying still becomes impossible. These are not tricks. They're translations of life in a story. Now, let's talk about a story arc. It's simply just the shape a story takes as it moves through change. It's the path a story follows, from beginning through the disruption into their transformation and towards their renewal. An arc exists because movement exists. Stories don't stay flat. They rise, they bend, break, and grow the same way that life does. That complete movement from beginning to disruption to change to renewal is called a story arc. A story arc is the map of how a story takes its journey. It shows the story's movement, where it begins, where it rises, falls, and how it changes all along the way. The arc marks the key points of the journey. The starting place, the disruption that pushes the story forward, those moments of struggle and growth, and the place that the story arrives at the end.